Terry can't make it.
Well, we're gonna kind of get our work session rolling here. Welcome everybody. I appreciate everyone coming. This is Distinguished Student Dinner Night, and we want to recognize our distinguished students. For those who don't know me, I'm the new director. I just started beginning of the summer, basically, maybe a little earlier than that, replacing Mr. Tarasovich, who retired. So I'm Matt Liberty, the new director, and appreciate everyone coming tonight. And I'll turn it over to our principal, Mrs. Aiken, to recognize our students.
Fantastic. So folks, every night when we have our JOC meeting, we like to have a student spotlight. And so we pick different classes or organizations to talk about because we want our board members to know what's going on in here. And we try to advertise that through social media and our website and things like that, but it's these nights where they really kind of get the inside look of what's going on. Please don't ask me how many years, but for several years, the month of September has been designated for our exemplary students. Our exemplary students is a very small population of students who worked very, very hard the previous school year. They earned perfect attendance, which is very hard to do, especially in today's society, in addition to being on the honor roll. And that's a hard thing to do. So as you can see, there are only a handful of students here with us this evening. We do have a couple who were unable to join us, but we had a total of 8 students last year out of a population of over 700 students to earn this accolade. So thank you very much for your hard work and dedication. Parents and guardians, you deserve as much of a congratulations as your students do. That was probably 6 a.m. of you're going to go to school, it's going to be okay, get your butt out the door and get dressed. I know I do that every morning at 6 a.m. And get your homework done. How are your grades? What do you need help with? It's very taxing on parents. So students, you've worked hard, but so have your parents. So let's give everybody a round of applause. Thank you. And we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight so that we could celebrate you, because it is a celebration of you. I've invited your instructors here to say a couple words, because as much as I would love to brag about each and every one of you, unfortunately, you were my good kids that didn't spend a lot of time in my office for discipline, so I don't know as much about you as I wish I did. So your instructors are going to share a little bit about you so we can celebrate you this evening. Don't feel bad if you still get up for desserts or drinks. There's plenty around. Okay? Anthony Alexander was an automotive technology student. He did graduate in June with us. He's from Fort LaBeouf, but unfortunately he was not able to be here. And we also have Gracie Belfiore. She was a student in graphic media and design. She was out on co-op for the majority of her senior year, if I'm not mistaken, from Iroquois, and she also graduated. So those are our 2 students who are not able to join us this evening, but we'll go ahead and celebrate the folks who were here. Josiah Grace, come on up. Congratulations. Mr. Eggleston was his co-op instructor, and he's got a few words to share.
All right. Hello, everyone. Okay, Josiah. I can never tell the 2 apart. Tell me. Josiah amazed everyone right away from the get-go with his skills. His mentor, John at the Yankee, said on my first or second visit, he is learning at a fast pace and is very dependable. Man, a few words. On one of our reflection assignments, the question was, how do I adopt a doing mentality? To which he replied, start using I will and I will and not I will try. This is a definite statement that defines this guy right here, Josiah.
And Sebastian Grace.
All right. I go into the bay and they're both there. I could never tell. It's crazy. All right, Sebastian. Sebastian impressed everyone with his knowledge and drive. Jake, Sebastian's mentor, always gave high marks. Always. He also is a man of few words, even fewer than John. So when he said he's doing a good job, that means a lot. Okay, from Jake, and hopefully Jake's going to be another mentor for us. In one of our reflection assignments, Students were to describe their own positive personal traits. This statement really reflects Sebastian's work ethic. And this is right out of him, right out of his mouth. I'm very honest when it comes to my mistakes and learn from them every time. I also show up to work on time every day, and I'm always productive and eager to learn new things. And I gotta say this, when these two ended up at the same placement, you were transferred, right? Okay. I have twin nephews, and sometimes they are like really oil and water. And I was a little apprehensive at first, but these two, they work side by side on a lot of occasions. I'm blown away. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Congrats, dude.
Thank you, Mr. Eggleston, we appreciate that. Jacob Hall is a computer programming instructor, graduated from McDowell, and Mr. Klintz has a few words to say about him. Congratulations, Jacob. You can be right here if you'd like.
I would like that. Although the camera's right here. I love my students. I love all of my students. I like their traits, I like their personalities, I like their skills. But sometimes I wish they were all like Jacob. He's an amazing student, absolutely always on task, always getting the job done, and when he would finish his job, he was always looking into new technologies, looking into new things, really, really cool stuff. I'd always peek over his shoulder, I'd say, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? And he'd show me, and I was actually showing him and his family just a little bit ago. He left a good mark on the program because he was showing me something that he was looking into just with web design, which was something I knew about what he was doing, but I'd never thought about integrating it into the class. And when I saw the success he was having in a brief amount of time, I said, hey, we should all do this. So this year, every first-year student is doing what Jacob, part of the legacy that Jacob left behind. That to me is what makes an exemplary student right there. This is an outstanding guy.
Next we have Veronica Brewer. She's a cosmetology student, still with us, has not graduated yet, and she's from Harbor Creek. Come on up. Congratulations. Mrs. Newell will say a couple words about her.
Yes, for sure. So when Veronica came to me to shadow our cosmetology program when she was 9th grade, I just knew something was very special about her. So with that being said, I would just like to recognize her as a truly outstanding student in the field of cosmetology. And in my program, I have the opportunity to witness remarkable talent, dedication, and passion. And today we are here to celebrate her that exemplifies all of those. Veronica has shown exceptional commitment and enthusiasm in the journey through our cosmetology program with her employability, academic, and technical skills. She's not only excelled in her coursework, but has consistently gone above and beyond in helping her peers, sharing her knowledge and demonstrating leadership in our cosmetology lab environment. You have such creativity, Veronica, and innovation in hair, skin, and nails, and you leave the students and I in awe at times with your work. You are an inspiration to all of us. Your dedication and passion for cosmetology serve as a reminder that with hard work and a genuine love for what you do, there are no limits. And that applies to all of her life because she's exceptional at sports as well, and also her homeschool. Congratulations on a well-deserved recognition, and I have no doubt that in the future your world is going to be extraordinary. So thank you for setting your standards so high and for holding us to those as well.
So, as the assistant principal at Harbor Creek High School, I have spent absolutely 0 minutes with Veronica in my office, which is unfortunate because as a student in an AP course and in honors courses, getting 99% in pretty much everything that she has ever done, it is abundantly clear that she is a student that I would very much want to know on a more regular basis and learn and experience, what she's passionate about. So, as I don't know Veronica all that well, I did reach out to her teachers to see what they had to say. And so I share a little bit from them. So Mr. McQueen, her social studies teacher, he responded to say, wow, she is the most hardworking, dedicated, intense student I have had in a long time. Her science teacher, Ms. Prokopchak, responded to say that there is rarely ever a student that is as hardworking, intense, and dedicated as Veronica is. And if you're not quite picking up yet, there's a theme here. She's as good as it gets. And then finally, Mr. Hess, her math teacher, responded to say, on top of all of the other pieces of who she is as being an excellent student, he said that she is just a kind, good, perfect human being in all things and makes their classroom a better place every single day. So we are thrilled to have Veronica as a Husky, so congratulations.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a young lady who, this is not her first rodeo, not her second rodeo, but it is now her third time earning this achievement. Star Backer from Early Childhood Education, graduated last year from us as well as Gerard. Congratulations, Star. Ms. Fox has a few words about Star.
I actually didn't write much because last year I wrote a lot and she told she spoke first and said everything that was in what I wrote. So, so this year I didn't really write a lot, but as you know, she's a graduate of early childhood education. She came to me 3 years ago, well, 3.5 years ago, as a sophomore. And that is one thing that I love about being here is I get 3 years to get to know these students. She was hardworking from the get-go, really hard, always asking questions, helping out everybody in the classroom, helping me if I needed it, like if I needed something done, you know, her hand was up and she was like, yes, you know, I'll do it. Her last year with us though, she left and she went out on co-op. And she excelled out on co-op and stayed there. And at this moment, she is at Penn State Barron, where she is majoring in early childhood education. Well, I guess she said that she can't really claim that as her major yet. They make you wait. So she will be majoring in early childhood. And it is a passion of hers, and she is very good at doing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't see anything that was on that. Okay. Oh, I did want to mention, she was in the National Technical Honor Society in her senior year, while also out on co-op, and she was an officer for the National Technical Honor Society. So hard work, not just hard working, but kind of makes it happen even though she was absent from the building.
So her entire career, you never missed one day of school. That is unbelievable.
Impressive.
Nor co-op.
Wow.
And last but not least, we have Brody Polk, graduated from us last school year. He was in the Diversified Occupations program, so Mr. Eggleston was his instructor. He also graduated from Gerard. Congratulations, Brody.
Hello, everyone. Okay, Brody was my first diversified occupation student last year. He actually began the very first day of school as he was set up in the program over the summer, which is ideally what we would like to do for our DO students from other schools. His second placement, he was in 2 different placements under 2 different career paths, did wonderful in both. But his second one had him at PHB, where he was going to go back to the other one once the seasons changed back, and they kept him. Amazing. And not only did they keep him, they hired him full-time. Okay? Beautiful. Almost done. One reflection assignment on self-control asked many questions, but this one and Brody's answer really resonated with me. Find your locus of control. And his reply was, find someone to guide you to success. Don't let someone control you. And that's what he does at DHB, and his parents know that because they're out there with him, and I saw them a lot out there on my visits. So congratulations, Brody.
when we talk to folks from industry, everybody's talking about what they need, you know? And folks aren't telling me, I need highly skilled people, they have to do X, Y, and Z. We apparently now live in a society where folks just want people that are gonna come to work on time, wearing pants, sober. You would not believe the struggle they have getting this. Why I share that with you, other than the fact that it's true, is because these students are doing both of those things. They have been working on mastering their skills while they were or are at ECTS, and they're taking care of one of those key components that is essential to employment, and that's attendance. Those behaviors start young and they continue into adulthood. So this achievement covers so many aspects that you have been successful and you're going to continue to be successful. So congratulations on your achievement. We are very proud of you. I would like you to do me one favor, if you don't mind, not that I'm kicking you out, but I would like to get some pictures in the lobby before you all leave. You are more than welcome to stay for as long of the meeting if you would like. You're also allowed to leave as early as you would like. But I would like to get photos in the lobby if you don't mind. So again, thank you very much and congratulations.
So why don't we take a break and we can gather for pictures and grab one more dessert to take to the And thank you everyone for coming and for sending school. I appreciate your attendance tonight. Thank you. We'll go get some pictures.
Stay.
I ain't gonna leave. I got your first. Where were you?
Overachievers, like your student.
That's awesome. Tell her.
Very nice to meet you, sir. I appreciate your time.
Then she said, I don't understand.
options and discussion. But let's start with the foundation agenda. If anybody has any questions, this is just work sessions, we're not gonna do the foundation meeting yet. We're just gonna do the agenda. Does anybody have any questions on anything on the foundation agenda? Probably the biggest item was the donations to Fairview football program and Seneca football programs. When we were starting school and we were 4 days out, basically we said how we're gonna get the manpower to get everything moved and going, and a shot in the arm, and I reached out to a couple football programs and said, if you could send us some kids, we'll make a donation to your program. So Seneca sent us 11 kids and Fairview sent us 3 kids. They came for a morning and we were unloading Conex boxes, and each one got matched up with our 3 hard lab, like a group of 3 or 4 students, Conex boxes and pallets and unloading equipment and stuff like that, like 4 days before school started. It's really a shot in arm that we needed, so that's where that situation was. Just trying to figure out how we add manpower with shortages of manpower in our maintenance department. So
I have bigger boys in my school. Should have called us.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I have bigger boys at my school.
Kettle playing.
You should have called us.
You're correct. We reached out to Fort LaBeouf just because we knew people, basically. Mr. Tarasovich is coaching at Fairview, so that's why we did it. Lisa's son plays for Seneca, so I reached out to her, and then, Rick Emmerich, Fort LaBeouf superintendent of record, of course, our superintendent of record. I just had him talk to his football coach. It worked out. Once we had we were going to have a dozen. I thought too many of us. That's why I didn't reach out further. But yeah, so that's where that is. Any questions on the foundation agenda? All right, so let's jump over to the agenda for a regular meeting. As you look through the agenda, we've been working with Erie County Community College. They've been asking for a long-term commitment from us, and I've had several meetings with their leadership to try to get that into place. I know we've talked about selling the skills center in the past, and EC3 wanted to buy it. I'm not in favor of that, but what I've kind of worked for and pushed for is our lease was up, and it wasn't written to renew again this school year, so we got to get a new lease in place. But the long-term lease that we're pushing to do is so that they have a 10-year commitment and really can then invest in the building and do some things, is basically half the building being EC3 and half the buildings staying with Erie County Community College with our future programming discussion that we're going to have here in a few moments. So that we're giving them the commitment they need to move forward with industrial manufacturing technology lab. They already have the welding lab over there, and they want to pour some money into it to spruce it up and kind of make it EC3 Summit and do some big with the front offices and pour some money into it. We're giving them the long-term commitment that they can do that, but we're not just giving them the whole building on the lease. So that's kind of where we're headed. The lease that you have on there is just a 1-year extension of the previous couple of years, just a renewal of it. And one thing to note on that is our revenue will go down from EC3. When they did the original lease, they rented the whole upstairs and several of the labs, and then they never used the whole upstairs. And so they asked in this to say, we don't want to pay for airspace we're not using, so we'd like to rework it a little different. And so there will be a little bit decrease in revenue from them because they're not using rooms, basically using one room upstairs. And they had originally rented all that space of 201 to 210. So that's one thing to note moving forward. And that's just, thank you for the money that they paid us the last couple of years. And they weren't using that space, but they had a purpose for that. Their purpose for that was their reimbursements through PDE and levels of these, side of things. So they kept it up.
So they're going to do the welding in that one classroom this year, and then you said you want to do some more manufacturing machines, so then they're going to expand it for next year, you're saying. So that's the reason we want to only do 1 year, it sounds like.
So we're only 1 year because we don't have, and we're not in agreement on the 10-year yet, on the details.
Okay.
And the way we wrote the 1 year was, they're taking the welding lab, they're taking the one classroom upstairs, with the option to add spaces
Okay,
and amend the lease down the road.
okay.
Um,
But then you might not even do it for 1 year, it's a very short time.
Correct. Ideally, our renovation gets finalized smoothly, and we get our computer networking and graphics, and art design for business over here come for spring. And then they wanna start then doing the upgrades to those areas, bringing in equipment, doing paint jobs, doing some facade things. And once that start happening, then that adds the areas that they'll pay more, for on the lease.
So wait,
So the old Woodcrafts lab is the big one.
Right, but we don't have community networking over there, do we?
We do currently, yes.
You have some over there?
I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Computer programming's over there, computer networking's here. I always
Okay,
switch to one of those, but
yeah,
yeah.
you picked that, okay. So I went down to see the new lab down here, or new classroom down there, and they just said, this is new, and then,
Yeah, networking is here, programming is over there,
okay, fine.
until we can get them back over here. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
They would like more right now,
Well,
but we just can't give it to them.
Right, I
until we
understand,
finish
I
this
just wanna make sure,
renovation.
I wanna make sure I understood it correctly, that's fine, that's
And
good.
your advanced placement college coursework will continue as well?
It is still over there, yes, it will continue. Ideally, down the road, if we give more to EC3, and they're using more space, and it's not available over there, there's space here, once we're up and running at the end of this year, there's a couple of classrooms here that we could potentially use for those classrooms. Right now, those classrooms are operating 2 days a week, just Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you hate to hold up progress for 2 days a week of filling it. One of the conversations that I will have, and I talked to Brad Whitman, the IU5, executive director, at our last meeting, but we're supposed to get together here. He said maybe this week, but maybe it won't be till next week.
My granddaughter says it's going very well.
Yes, is looking at, if we're gonna use that space for those classes, can we start going Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Thursday, filling up 4 days a week versus just 2 days a week. But that's another discussion. I also am a big proponent of the Pitt Bradford College and High School program, which only one of our school districts does that up here. It's Northeast, whereas I implemented that at Rocky Grove, and it was such a great program. I told everybody down in Venango County, they're all hooked up with it. And everybody in Clarion County, they're all hooked up with it. And what that is where you just align your coursework that the kids are already gonna take with the Pitt Bradford, and it's a Pitt credit, it's a Pitt transcript, and it's the classes they're already gonna take in pre-calc, and calc, and physics, and chemistry, and Englishes, counting as entry-level college classes. Big time. And, it was kind of funny, because Julie's not back yet, right? Oh, she is. She got to experience that when we did our MOUs for state police, and the state police guy that came was actually a parent of Rocky Grove students back in the day. She still has one there. And I said, hey, how's it going? How's the older kids? He's like, great. He goes, the oldest one's gonna graduate in 3 years from Slipper Rock because of the dual enrollment program in Rocky Grove, because of all the credits they had, But the best part about that was it wasn't another class. Because like your granddaughter's already taken calc, and she's taken probably AP English or whatever the accelerated English is. And she's taken physics, and she's taken chemistry. And then she goes, does a dual enrollment class here on top of that workload. And those kids are usually the ones that are in band, in choir, doing dance, doing sports, doing the musical, and there's just a limit to time. And so I would love to see our schools get hooked up if we can, and things have changed over time, and I haven't talked with Pitt Bradford for a few years. They were the classes they were already taking, so it wasn't an extra add-on. Now they could still take more, like a philosophy, like a criminal justice, like those type of classes that are offered here, but their core classes count. That's what was so beautiful about that Pitt Bradford program.
Pick up and move into, they're already in the university.
Yeah, it was just the regular teachers, the regular classrooms, the accelerated schedule that accredited by Pitt Bradford.
I taught in Corey in that program for a few years, teaching advanced placement English, and it appears on, later on transcript, that's how it reads. So it is, there's no chance that your work may or may not move into your college program, it's guaranteed.
It's a guarantee, because it's a PIT transfer, and it was 132 pre-calc and 140 calculus, whereas the AP classes, that's what I didn't like about AP, is it took a test, and then when you went to Allegheny College, now we don't accept that. If you go to, maybe Slipper Rock, they do accept it, right? The state schools accepted it, but that's not fair. That kid worked just as hard as the other kid, probably scored higher, a 4 or 5, than another kid with a 3 that went to Slipper Rock, and yet they got credit and they didn't. So that's what I liked about the PIT transcript. Yeah, absolutely.
I think George already signed up for that, but all school districts have plenty of opportunity that we have textbook, they can go Gannon dual enrollment, they can go Edinburgh dual enrollment, and online and offline, you can go to Penn State, it's all.
There's tons of opportunities.
Right, the parent.
Robert Morris.
Yeah, Robert Morris, I think,
We're hooked up with Robert Morris.
does a similar one.
And it's basically, you're speaking to people already know that the person you gotta talk to is the parent of the students and stuff. If they're smart, I'm like you, I said, I completely hate AP courses because I know so many people put their energy in AP courses and then went to college, they said, these are worthless. And I said, my daughter did everything, she went out here for 4 or 5, she went like 4 semesters out here, and she went, because her courses weren't offered, she went right down to Gannon. So, but still even, depending on what you major in, even with extra credit, you still might not graduate. And you have to go 4 years.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's just a matter of you get priority scheduling,
Yeah, right.
which is nice when you go to a big one like Penn State.
That's what you mean.
And since you have credits under your belt, you get priority scheduling.
Yeah, and I think if you tell parents to do that and say, hey, you take these courses out of textbook versus the AP course, because they can do the English out here, stuff like that, and they only have those 2 days they don't count 2 days to do a history, and some are both, I rather see some children do that, those 2 courses versus any one, the history AP or English AP course, and they're credited. I mean, if we can sell that to more people, and I know Gerard School District, the bus is loaded coming out here. I appreciate what we do, I'll tell you that, it's the greatest.
And that's what, when I talk about I-5, they're like, we have wait lists and we could get more courses, but the trouble is finding the professors.
Right.
To fill the course offerings and the number of kids that want it. So it's all a good program, but that's the EC3 direction we're looking to head. We're looking to, give them a long-term commitment. This is not the long-term commitment. This is just a 1 year to triage the fact that we expired. And then we're working to get that in place so that they have the commitment and then they can push the money in and get their equipment in there. So that's what that is. The PA Cyber School tuition agreement, the laws changed and, we're required to offer positions. Just so everyone's aware there, we had the discussion with the superintendents. We do priority to our member districts first. So no one's gonna get in from PA Cyber Charter over top of your kid. When we have open seats, and then that's when we'll fill them with those situations of a cyber charter kid moving out.
And the fee that's on there, is that our fee then same what we're charging home districts?
No.
Okay, what's the difference?
The difference is in the law, for the fees you charge the cyber charter kids or an out of district student, like if a Maplewood kid wanted to come to one of our programs, is your total budget divided by your total enrollment. So that is a higher fee.
It's a little higher.
Than our member districts pay, because our member districts, we back out all the grants and the other funding that we get. And then you guys pay the balance without that in there. So it ends up being, a little over 7,000 is the tuition you guys pay currently. It's a 3-year average, right? And then that's like if you did the math, I think it was like 10,000, I think it's 10. Just a little over 10 if you did that for 180 days that day of year. So member districts get a better deal than non-member scenarios and how we written our policies. Very good. Sound good? Okay. Clerk of the Works agreements in there. Dennis, I always want to say O'Brien, is currently working at Union City as a clerk of the Works. And we're going to pull him over to us. The one thing to note there is he is more expensive than Rob Estack was, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, he's also clerk of the works doing project management with the yacht club, I understand as well. So we wrote that in there, and he will be happy to have someone that's, you know, got a little bit more expertise in the situation, you know, working with the contractors on a daily basis.
Yeah, especially in the final stage.
For this final phase, yeah, well, for this last
Punch list and stuff.
3-4 months, and then the punch list, yep. So,
Yeah, he's less hours, it's more per hour, but less hours is what the contract is for.
in full disclosure, Steve called me, and he did, right, the first thing he said is, he is the father-in-law to one of the Doyles, which is Perry, that owns Perry Construction, so, you know, he is connected there, but it's, none of those guys are really on our site, right? Tim Palmer's our project manager from Perry, and then Don Overton is the foreman. Perry's been very good to work with in my time.
Mr. Wilbur,
Yes?
we introduce our new staff member because she has to get them.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Good call.
Thank you.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
We had invited some of our new staff members to come tonight. I apologize. We have Mrs. Nicole Larson here. She goes by Nikki. She is our new health assistant teacher. So, can we say anything? Sure. Just say
10 minutes or less.
10 minutes or less. My name is Nikki. I'm with Wattsburg School District actually. I have 5 kids. I'm a nurse. Well, RN.
You're a teacher now.
I'm a teacher. It's hard to transition now. So yes, and what else you want to say?
that's perfect. She filled in for a long-term situation a couple years ago for Sherry States, who just retired. Sherry was a teacher that retired, so we're really happy to have Ms. Larson here.
How's it going?
We like having medical people around, especially some sort of seniors.
So, I would like to say a few things, because I actually know Nikki very well, because I know her whole family. I know Nikki for a long time, because through our Erie County Fair, so she's actually a vice president, sits on the board along with me, so a great person to have on our team, so I know that firsthand, so welcome. So,
Yeah?
Thank you.
Welcome, we're glad you're here, and thank you for coming tonight. I apologize that I didn't get you in early.
That's okay.
Good interruption.
Hey, it was all cat, so we just wanted to make sure that you paused for a minute, just so
Yes.
we didn't hold her all the way. So thank you, Nikki, very much for cutting out time and meeting everybody, we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You have to go somewhere, right? We got him.
Okay, Tim, you gotta hang on then, without any medical.
We got a lot of.
I'm trained in CPR, Tim, so good luck to you, though. Okay, so that's the clerk of the works agreement. As we roll down through their field trips, those are the normal things. The donation of a car, we have reached out to that guy, we haven't connected to make it happen quite yet, but that is an item there. And then we have the change order for the graphics, so that's the big one. I look at Mike, because the best way I can say it is in some of our labs, they ripped out computer labs, and the way it was designed with the engineers and the architect, they were missing a lot of the data to go back and put computer labs back in. So this is all the data for graphics, art design for business, computer networking and computer programming that was missed. It is a rather large sum there, as you can see, and that's where we were part of that discussion last month of change orders, eating things up, so.
So you knew this was coming last month, that was part of the discussion.
We did, actually, it was not part of the numbers last month, right, Jess?
No,
It was not part of the numbers last month, but we knew it was coming, let's put it that
The
way.
date on it's like August 4th, so.
Yeah. So, it was not part of the numbers as we presented last month for the change orders and the numbers were presented.
On
It's coming.
Can you just pull that up, Mike? The, on their quote, it talks about, it's pretty detailed in what they're doing, but it talks about their bathroom lights, something like that, but go down a little further there. I guess my question is when it, actually it was up there. They're changing the way the electric is instead of poles. So I didn't see, are there deducts on here? Because if they're not, they quoted poles. They've added all the new stuff in. We shouldn't be paying for the stuff that they're not doing. Are there deducts on that somewhere? Is that normal?
They're not, because they've already purchased and paid for the poles. We are taking the poles though. We are taking the merchandise that they purchased and paid for. So if you go back to some of the comments, and you know, Mike's been at this longer than I am with this design on that corridor. They didn't even have bathrooms designed in that corridor in the initial bid drawings.
Correct, and we knew about that changeover, but the electric probably never got put in there, so, okay.
So there was a lot of missing, so they built those classrooms as regular classrooms, not classrooms that support computer networking, computer programming, and all the computer-based things that art and design and graphics do. They built them kind of as generalized classrooms without all the data needed for that. Now, they did have some of those power pools. They had a whole different design than what we had in the past. And we changed that design basically to say, okay, we want to match what we had in the past, where kind of around the edge was all the computers and the teacher was in the middle versus a classroom setting with power poles and drops and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was, unfortunately, it went to bid that way and we're just picking up the pieces afterwards. So, but yes, limiting those power cords and federal wire mooring around the rooms, we are taking the power poles. They will be part of our stock because they've already paid for it in that initial bid.
But there's also labor that they didn't put into that to install those, yet on all the new stuff, we're paying for labor again.
I could ask those questions, that's all I can do at this point.
I think there needs to be some kind of deduct, and I think our attorney question is, at what point do we, I mean, Steve called me, he was pretty burned up about this, and rightly so, but at what point do we have to look back at the architect and say, you've got a computer lab, you take all the wiring out, okay, but you don't put anything to put it back in. What are you thinking? At what point do we have to keep paying for this?
Isn't there errors in emissions insurance?
Sure.
I mean, they all have it.
That's
The
what our
argument would be-
contingency is for.
The argument would be
That's what they say.
that you would be paying for this work in the initial bid versus paying for it now. So is the value the same? Probably not. In other words, if that was completely designed properly, you would get the value, or we would get the value and the work and the cost and all that would be incorporated into the bids at the time. So there would be an increase in the initial price. Is it the same as what it is now? The change order, they're always more. They just are. So I don't know what that incremental would be. You know, is it instead of 105, would it have been 60,000? I don't know. That's hard to say. So there is added value, and you know, you certainly don't get what's the term, unnecessary enrichment. So therefore, I mean, the work is added, and it is an added value. But again, the timing is really the sore spot in my head. And you know, given that, could it have all been occurred during more of the rough-in stages versus now in the finished stages, when you're ready to go back in and say, oh, by the way, now they got to go in and redo it, and they could have done it more efficiently probably 6 months ago. I get it.
There's blame.
I'm not excusing it,
No, I
but
understand. There's blame to go around, and we've
Yeah.
made changes.
Fair.
I get that, okay? Whoever, you know, we've had, I don't know, 3 changes of administrations and everything else during this project, different IT people, okay? Everybody shares some of the responsibility, but guess who keeps having to pay the bill? Just us.
Right. And that's a discussion that certainly could be had with a design team, because he hires a consultant, Chris does, I forget who it is, is it Lens? Is it Lens? It is Lens, yeah. So, I mean, those guys, you know, they work for Chris, and yes, he absolutely has errors and omissions, and that's something that could be pursued, you know, and that's a weighted discussion that says the time and the effort involved going after him, is that worth the added?
And I will email Tim tomorrow morning, so that's on his plate when he gets back
Yeah,
on
you know, we had the 105,000 on the roof change, and that was an error and an omission. That's why we have, you know, we had the special meeting then with them. That's what it is. It's just, it's this $100,000 after $100,000 after $100,000.
The site
on
work
things that-
outside.
Oh, and you're not counting the 30, the 30, the 30, the 40, the 40,
Correct.
the 40, the 30, the 40.
All of that.
It just adds up.
Right.
So your exact words are my exact words with a lot of energy in the last couple architect meetings, not this week, but the two prior, where I just said, at what point does aero emissions, do we turn it over to air emissions insurances? Because this is, you know, continually happening.
Had they done this at the appropriate time, they'd have been working in hollow walls with 2x4s. Now they're going through existing walls.
They'll probably have to fish it, that's what I'm saying,
It's more expensive.
It's not as efficient as possible. So I mean, but that's a function too of, you know, at the time, I'm just, you know, there's people that have eyeballs on the job. Whether that's the clerk of the works and the architect and, you know, the foremen that are there. Could the issue have been raised earlier? The answer is always, of course, it could have been. But, you know, who really drives that, you know, in this setup, it's hard to say.
But the architect was supposed to have seen that sort of thing in advance. I mean, a whole lot of new equipment.
The design team, yeah, correct.
That's why we hired them, yes.
I understand.
At any rate, there's plenty of frustration, but again, it's not all add-on. We changed things from what it was. We didn't, you know.
Do we put that, table that, or do we want to table that, or do we need to vote on it?
I think you need to move forward because the work needs to be done. My problem isn't necessarily with Church of Murdoch. That's not where the issue, I would ask the questions about, are we getting the part that we already paid for labor?
Yeah,
Are
so
we getting
that,
a credit towards that anywhere?
and if you look at that, it's $69,000 of labor.
I understand, I looked at it.
So, I say, to be honest with you, I say we don't approve it tonight, we table it. So that we can have them speak to, how is the fact that you bid this, to do this work, and there was labor already bidded, how is this changing? Can you come in and speak to that?
But is this whole?
Church of Murdoch is very good to work with. Scott Murdoch is, you know, he's very good to work with. He's been very accommodating and helpful. So, I mean, $69,000 of labor, I think it's worth tabling and having him answer to it.
Does that hold up anything?
I don't believe so. This is the new area that hasn't been done yet.
I'm fine with that. We're gonna meet another 4 weeks, so.
That would give Tim some time to learn the papers and
We just have, when it comes up, because we can't put that, it's not a Jeff, we'll have to put that on the table.
Right.
Okay. After that one is the Titan agreement. That is another pretty hefty investment. And that is basically working with Velocity Net in 1-year agreement to continue to help our IT to get things up and running. You know, that was one of the things that it keeps jumping up is things not working right, the network's being rebuilt, this is being rebuilt. The IT plan with this renovation,
There wasn't
what your
one.
opinions are?
There wasn't one.
It was incomplete.
It was unaddressed in the renovation plan.
One question I have on this is where were we intending to take this money from? Regular budget, or is this renovation money?
This is renovation.
Okay,
Yeah, this is
I think it
renovation
should be
money.
renovation, right?
This is renovation money, and this is part of that 750,000.
I'm close to my 750. That's why we had to.
this is in addition.
This is in addition to 715,000. It was earmarked for IT equipment and upgrades.
Because, yeah.
But this will give us some expertise. Pull the contract up there. I mean, it's pricey, but it's, for IT, I didn't think it was that,
So it's 9,000 per month.
basically, just to fill the group in, I mean, our infrastructure, you know, you look at, and I'd be more than happy to present at any point if anybody would like to know, but a lot of our core systems and things that run this building are very antiquated. They've been held together for so long. They've a lot like our main server. I was telling Sam before dinner, our main server is older than the students, and it's a windstorm away from dying. There was no plan for that, so the server got added in part of my $750,000. I got it in place, but it's a domino effect. You fix one thing in the network, another thing breaks, and so the goal with Velocity is to help augment what myself and my team is doing to just get us caught up to where we should be. Matt went on his first day on the job. What was the first thing, Matt, you asked me? What's our cybersecurity insurance plan? And I laughed in his face and said, we don't have one.
For cyber insurance.
Because nobody's going to touch us.
Cybersecurity insurance currently, because we don't have the stuff in place in order for them to even insure us.
So this is the reality of, you know, our systems. I mean, we have some great equipment, you know, a couple years old. To make a comparison, when I first got in this industry 20 years ago, you know, or when I started working as an IT manager before, you know, how did you install software? You put the disk in, and if you remember, like CDs and DVDs, put the disk in, hit a couple, next, I agree, and install it. That's how you did it 20 years ago. My staff, it's basically that way, only the CD is on the server now. And the server I have to keep rebooting because it keeps crashing. That's how we install software in this building. Most of your sending schools probably have a lot more sophisticated, a lot more advanced, and a lot more secure ways of doing that. We don't have that here. We spent a lot of that $750,000 to get these things, the new stuff up, but now you have new stuff and old stuff, and we got to get everything where it needs to. So it is a 1-year commitment to help my staff and myself get us where we need to be.
We had a service agreement previously with, what was the company?
AEC Group.
AEC Group.
That was the group that Dr. Walker had hired when I first came on board to get an assessment of where we are. And I don't know if Dr. Walker had ever shared that, but it basically outlined a lot of these problems. And then we hired them to help us with some of them, but of course.
That was an IT, we paid for an IT audit.
Right.
At that point, to look at everything and say, what do we need? So in essence, we're going back to that audit now.
And saying, we got to fix this stuff.
And working on the things that they outlined, so we need to do that. Okay.
So will they provide hardware and devices as well as part of this agreement as needed, or no? This is just service?
Just service. Most of the hardware if you were
in the 750.
Is in the 750.
Yeah, okay.
So like there, for example, 2 weeks before school started, we spent $13,000 on all the new wiring closets. Brand new, state of the art, just to make the things talk to each other. You can ask anybody in the room, the first couple of weeks of school, I've been unplugging and plugging, and my staff and I have been running, Andy, Ben, and myself have been running around like crazy trying to unplug and replug stuff in. So that's just the equipment. So the equipment's there, but now it's the matter of the software.
You guys got thrown in the bus.
Well, and the rest of
Because
it.
these girls were actually on ladders up.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Making sure this plugged into this, and this plugged into that.
Extra duty.
Did you get photography of that?
We should,
We didn't have
well,
time for photography.
We will see you on a lot of.
yeah.
Good.
No, but this is all the wires and all the other connect, and then you had an IT closet that got demoed inappropriately.
Yep. Contractors blew dust on our firewall. Cooked that. Knocked a couple of our access points off the building. I mean, so some of the contingency, I call my contingency fund, I got to replace things. Our wireless realistically is getting out antiquated as itself. I mean, Matt, I know, as I've already told Matt several times, I need this and that, and he kind of says, well, we'll see, but I mean.
He said you have yet to make it work, I'm not giving you any more money until you make it work.
It's a catch-22. I can't make it work unless I make it work.
Come on, Mike, make it work.
Yeah.
Just need the power cord.
Yeah, just give me another.
And then there's part of the designs is there's a closet of IT that's in the new wing that all powers the welding, right? Makes welding work for IT. Well, that's not even built yet, so welding's a patchwork, temporary patchwork. into another, you know, closet and stuff like that, which then frustrates the teachers when things aren't working, you know how it goes, so it's.
Matt, if the construction people smash things in the process of doing the renovation, do we have recourse? If they're ruining things of Mike's? Is that the sort of thing that you owe us this is because your boys dropped their forklift outside, whatever the drama, there's some sort of coverage. I guess.
It was brought up in I mentioned it in one or two of the meetings, right? That,
We did talk about it
Yeah.
early on when Joe was still here.
yeah,
So
so,
it hasn't been brought up lately.
Right.
No.
So if we get a list of those things. you
I can get a
probably
list
have
of what
that.
has been, yeah.
Was it, do we know which contractor it was?
No, that's the.
Was it Church and
it's-
Murdoch, or was it?
No, it was when they were demoing the
Yeah.
fascia on the outside of the building, there were still some devices that were out there that got ripped down because they were still attached. And then, like, Mike didn't know they were going out to do the demo, nor did, you know, it just, things didn't match up.
So that would be a Perry item.
For the first part.
For that one, yes,
Yeah.
but then
That
like,
that was way back. That was
Way
about
back,
that
yeah.
Joe, right?
but then like the firewall, when they started, you know, blowing dust and stuff, I mean, that server closet or that server room, I mean, they were working on top of each other, so, you know, who's gonna say who did what, kind of thing.
It was so full of dust, Andy went in to try to blow out devices and stuff like that. And the dust was so thick it set off the fire alarm, and it was just like, you know, it was,
So, let's get that list together
Yeah, contract.
and look at what we have, and then worst comes to worst, we can have those conversations. And then, like they're doing with the tiles and the damage to the ceiling grids and stuff, where nobody's claiming it, they're putting that through as a deduct across the board, where they all have, you know, a piece of that damage. Now, this will probably be a little bit more than ceiling grid and tiles. Sure. But we at least have that conversation and continue to push that bill. That's all we can do at this point, but yeah.
This will get us a lot further what we need to do.
Well, and that's the reality of, you know, it's, in my world, it's a matter of when things happen, right? And so, no matter what you do, you're never gonna be totally protected, but
And
just,
so,
go, you mean, I'm sorry.
in all of your districts, you've probably had these conversations of adding IT support. Because there's not like you're going backwards on the number of technology that's in the buildings, right? And so that's another conversation that Mike has had with me 3 or 4 times that I, you know, pushed that off. Is when do we start to add that IT support, right? Every little piece of equipment you buy new, whether it's culinary, whether it's welding, whether it's all got IT backgrounds now, right? It's not, your phone system is all IT now. And so where does that, there's 2 IT guys. Now, we do have computer programming, we do have computer networking, you know, we do pull some little bit of stuff, but they're not like having a true technician, you know, from student help, so.
That'll be easier to know once,
Exactly.
once the dust settles.
Would it be
Yeah.
cheaper to hire a in-house person that just is dedicated to that, to supplement your crew?
I think
Just
that's,
asking.
I think that's your 2.
Okay.
I think it's velocity expertise
Fair, to bridge us now.
to get us going now
Yep.
versus a technician that we're gonna have to train and everything like that, that's a
And then
new
you
guy
got an
that's
in-house person.
probably a low man on the
Helps, it all
totem.
helps, Mike, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
so
other,
to me, it's like, let's get it,
I think it's well worth the $9,200 a month to spend to have it done, so.
to get it done to where it's better.
Absolutely.
If you can manage it.
Well, I was just
And
thinking
then-
120 grand a year, I mean, so.
So that's, you have to realize that's,
That's a 10-month contract, so.
okay, but and
Oh,
you gotta realize, we don't have to pay,
Sorry.
we don't have to pay social security, insurance, retirement,
Healthcare.
so basically, the 90, that's fairly inexpensive for a person if that, we get a whole, and then we might get more than one person.
And what we're finding, and I think we're having similar issues here with anybody in the technology world,
You can't find anybody.
they're not cheap. You're not hiring them for 50 and 60.
They're at least, they're 80,000 minimum.
Oh, sure, no, I'm just, it's just, I'm throwing an idea out there.
The good news is we did interview a computer networking teacher. So Mike is currently the part-time computer networking teacher and teacher of record there, as well as IT. So that is our kind of our vision going forward. Not that we're not gonna have a smaller agreement that we may come to you with velocity down the road for that backup support, just to add manpower into a situation when situations jump up. But that's probably then this contract for now, and then where we go with adding manpower and technology down the road. That's probably next year.
Mike has so many titles, you gotta give him a 4x6 business card.
4x6. Yes, hey, he had hair before.
Yeah.
It's
Dr.
not-
Weiss, it's not a piece of paper anymore, it's all on his phone.
I don't know.
Index card.
It's not a card, it's a piece of
What
paper.
happened to business cards?
There we go.
Puts it on his tablet.
You still keep business cards or something.
All right. So there's some heavy lifting in this.
So now we're into reports, you gonna wait for those, or are you doing those now?
We'll wait for those,
Okay.
because part of that report is then, the presentation we're gonna give on future programs, right? The idea behind the presentation of future programs is we're giving this information to you, we present it to the superintendents on our September meeting. Our superintendents wrestled with it, we're coming back, they've asked for some more data and reports that we're gonna present to them on October 6th. And we'll have a little bit better guise of where we're going moving forward on the Cosmo versus other program discussion. So with that though, let's move to that presentation now. You ready, Julie? So we had Julie, Lisa, and Sandy present to the superintendents on where we'd like to see as an admin team go forward. And there is the clicker up there. You got it. Yeah, I got it.
So for those of you who were present at the last meeting, we were having a discussion of cosmetology 2, where things were headed, possibilities, different things like that. One thing that is unfortunate when it comes to me is I cannot turn off my face. And across the room, Terry Brink sees this. Sorry, Lisa's kind of in the same boat, and she says, I want to know what they think. And we appreciate that, you know? So we're happy to present and share our feedback. We do have some facts and figures in here, but in all honesty, most of this is our expert professional opinion. The experience that we have in the classroom and as administrators in this building and in other areas of education, this is where we would like to see the future of ECTS. So I want to share with you some information that we put together and share with the superintendents. When we start thinking about planning for new programs, we look at several different components, all right? We take a look at the high priority occupation list. Fair enough. In-demand occupations. We look at what the community needs. You know, we have our occupational advisory committees that come in. This past week, we had an advanced training day where we had folks from the community come in, and we just talked to them and we listened to them. What are your needs? What are we seeing? That's huge. Our whole goal is to put students out into the world so that they can stay local and have quality employment, all right? Ideally, I don't want to send students to Pittsburgh, to Cleveland, across the country. I want to keep them here. I want them to be productive members of our society, not just of society in general. But we also need to have student interest, all right? So I like to think that I understand a teenage brain, and then I start to talk to one and I question that ability. So we ask the students, what are you interested in? What do you think? And so over the course of the past couple of years, we've done a couple different conversations and survey to get this feedback. Specifically one that I did with the students, and I was not the only one that did one last year. I sat down with a group of students, I called them my principal's panel. And I took one senior from every program, and we met monthly, and we talked about X, Y, or Z topics. And before I went out on maternity leave, I asked my students, what do you think we should do if we were to open up another program at ECTS? And I gave them the list of possibilities in the state of Pennsylvania, because otherwise they're going to throw out all kinds of ideas. So I wanted them to be focused on what is actually doable, and I gave them the ability to look up and research these in case they didn't know what these different things covered. And I asked them questions like, if you were starting out as a 9th grader, what would you be interested in? And some of them were different programs than they were currently graduating from. I asked them, what programs do you think we need in our Erie County community? They answered those. Some of those were similar and some of those were different. And then I asked them what they thought their peers would be interested in. And again, some were similar and some were different. So we got their perspective in a couple different surveys, and we saw a lot of trends, which I'm going to share with you in a little bit. Third thing we want to consider is, what can our sending school districts offer? We work together. We're not trying to fight over this. We both have strengths and abilities that we have. We don't want to compete with our sending school districts. We want to continue to be an extension of them. So if there are programs that they could be doing, we want them to be able to do that, and we want to have those that are unique to us that they couldn't touch, because we've got valuable resources that our sending school districts just don't have. The talk of cosmetology as a second program has been brewing for a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I've not been part of all of those conversations, so I don't know everything that has been said. But when we stepped back and we thought, what are the true benefits of adding a second cosmetology program? The fact that it's an extension of an existing program is a perk. Sandy Carr loves going for program approval, but she's also very excited about the idea that we already have cosmetology too, or have a cosmetology. So adding a second program does not make us have to start over when it comes to getting approved with PDE. That's a perk for us, all right? If we added a second program, we would eventually have 42 additional seats for students. We do that over a 3-year process, just like we are working through with sports therapy and exercise science. So it wouldn't be 48 seats next year, but over the course of 3 years, we would add 48 student seats to our building. We like that. And then third, we'd have a smaller wait list. And I believe that that has been the main conversation when it came to adding a second cosmetology program. We saw big wait lists year after year after year, and we're thinking, by golly, we need to minimize this wait list. We need to get more students in there. So when you look at that piece of information right there, it would have a smaller wait list. Unfortunately, it's just not quite that simple, and we had spent a little bit of time trying to dig and find more information. And Lisa, do you want to share the information that you were kind of finding? Don't get me wrong, we're not 100% on all of our numbers, but the trends that we were seeing are important.
Which thing that I was looking at, that a lot of the students who ended
Second
up
choices in
initially
different
on the
programs,
wait list for cosmetology are actually attending ECTS, second choice program. And I didn't have a way to run that precisely. It's something we could go back and look at student by student, but initial observations indicate that many of those students are attending ECTS just in a second choice program.
So those waitlisted students who are not going into cosmetology are not necessarily not coming to our building, they're just going to a second choice program or different things like that, which is important to know. I wish we had more data as far as how successful are students who are enrolled in their first choice versus their second choice. To the best of my knowledge, that's not information that we have. I think it would be worthwhile to do because we really preach about having the right student in the right program for the right reasons. But the fact that they still have the ability to come to us and are choosing second choices is big, if you ask me. Okay? But those were the benefits that we identified by adding a second cosmetology program. On the flip side of that, we also have risks. There's an estimated $637,000 that we would need to start up a second cosmetology program. As we try to make leadership decisions in the building, you will constantly hear us talking about protecting the public trust. I'm pretty sure Sandy Carr has it audio recorded. Because we value that. It's important to us. We want to protect the public trust. And when we sit back and we think we're going to spend that kind of money just to start up another program, that's a really big chunk of change for us, and Lisa has shared with folks that as a taxpayer, that's hard for her, and so we want to try to think about that. We want to look through different lenses, and that's difficult. That's a big chunk of change. Additionally, in order to add that space for cosmetology, we would have to move and displace 2 of our programs who are in brand new renovated spaces. We would have to uplift them, move them across the building so they go from that wing to that wing, and there would be that disruption to curriculum, that additional fee of renovating their original space, preparing the new space that's blank, it's ready for any program. There would be some changes to get it ready for those specific programs. So that disruption is not ideal for us. And then it changes the amount of students that we could bring in over time. As opposed to bringing in 48 additional students over the course of that 3-year titration, we would be doubling that by adding up to 96 students, because instead of adding 1 cosmetology program, we have the potential to add 2. If you were to go down this yellow hallway beside us, there are 2 empty rooms that are ready to be filled. If we added cosmetology, we would move health and sports therapy to those spaces, to add 1 cosmetology. And that simply comes down to the requirements that the state has for how much room cosmetology has to have. They've got a whole additional list of regulations that the other programs don't. So that's why we could not add we could only add 1 more cosmetology instead of 2 additional ones. We talked about retention concerns. Full disclosure, this is not the most ideal information, and I'll tell you why. When we started thinking about the retention concerns, everything kind of made sense. And then in all honesty, when Sandy started doing some digging, the data just, I'm going to say it wasn't consistent. It didn't hold the value that we were looking for. But I wanted to share it with you anyways, because we did share this with the superintendents.
This is 1 year worth of data.
Yes, and
right?
Sandy went back and
there was-
looked over 3 years.
There was a bubble, basically, with COVID year, where a lot of the kids that started with the remote learning didn't stay with us. Whereas when we looked at a 3-year trend, the numbers weren't that bad. But what we did on this was try to give you a picture of good to bad in some of our programs on retention. Sorry.
No, that's good. Fantastic. Thank you. So as you can see, we've got the 2 instructor programs. Culinary arts and auto tech are the 2 that we have right now. If we added a second cosmetology, that would be our 3rd one. Our retention rates are not good. They're a little alarming. And yeah, this was 1 year, not over the course of 3, but that was scary. My theory is when you add a second instructor, when you double the population of students, we're not necessarily getting the right student in the right program for the right reasons. It becomes a place where we have seats. So Billy wants to come here, so let's put him in there because there's seats. And we're no longer producing as many successful students, we're just getting them in the door. And I struggle with that a lot. Ideally, I want to give every student the opportunity to come here, but more so, I want them to be successful. Whether it's at their studying school or at ECTS, I want them to be successful. And I have found in my career in CTE that when we have more seats, it's not necessarily the more the merrier. Okay? So then we also gave you some data from the past year with 1 instructor programs, and we've got much higher numbers. When you look at precision machining, that's the lowest retention rate in the past year with 1 instructor. So we think, okay, it's not that much higher than the 2 instructor labs. Why is that? Again, because that is a program that unfortunately we struggle to fill year in year, so it becomes a place of, oh, there's a seat, let's put this kid here, when it might not be the right fit for them. Okay? So there are a lot of factors when it comes to retention, the turnover rate for teachers, what's going on in their curriculum, all kinds of different factors play into there, but we did share that information with the superintendents and we want to do the same for you. When we look back at last year's cosmetology graduates, we looked at where they were headed after graduation. And as you can see, we've got a lot of those students going out into full-time employment, several of them going to college or post-secondary, a couple in the military, and then 21% other unknown. So I honestly don't know where their thought process was, but they had shared with us that they did not know where they were headed. Could they be in the field a couple months out? Yeah. Could they be somewhere totally different? Absolutely. And so we don't have extraordinary high numbers in going into full-time employment.
Is that full-time employment in the field?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the rate of graduates have a license? We don't know what that is. We have how many, so you're telling us partial information. Right, how many full-time employees got their license here, so they could go there?
All of them.
Everyone who graduated, we have
All of
that.
our cosmetology students did. They did it at different times.
Okay.
Whenever they were ready and qualified, they went and took the test, but all the students tested and earned their license. They graduated with that certificate.
Okay, so then they were employed.
They were all eligible, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so we got a pretty high percentage. For college and working, that's pretty good. Yeah, really, college and working should be considered the same thing because it's basically, you go to college, it's more like work.
But a perfect example of that is our cosmetology student that was our speaker at graduation. She got her cosmetology license, and now she's going to pre-law, you know? So it doesn't dictate exactly where they're headed. It could be post-secondary related to cosmetology or totally different. So there are some leeway in there. When I talked to you about suggestions from students and doing those student surveys, these were some of the hot items that they came up with in the several different surveys that we had. So we can see vet tech, business and marketing, criminal justice, the list goes on. And we did see a lot of trends in what these students were looking for. I like to point out, most of our students are going to know what these things are. There's a lot of programs available through PDE that the students might not actually understand what it is or what the job market is like. Okay? But this is what they came up with. They think that these are hot items that they or people that they know would be interested in, and that's important. It's great to have a program that we like, but if the students aren't interested in it, there's not a point to it. These were the Pennsylvania annual in-demand jobs. I think this is important because it takes a look at several different possibilities for adding a new program at ECTS, but what things look like in the state of Pennsylvania. And we can see some very different numbers in there. And again, we need to take that into consideration. We need to have balance between a need in the community, jobs available, and student interest. And so pairing all of this information together has helped us as a leadership team bring our recommendations to you, which is what we're going to get at soon. I just want to point out that I like logistics a lot. So these are the main programs that the leadership team has been considering, looking at the pros and cons, the feasibility, and we also look at the current spaces that we have available on the ECTS campus, because that's huge. We need space to house this. We would like to propose protective services as our #1 consideration. It was proposed back in 2020. It was supported in 2020. It just didn't happen at the last minute, and we would really like to see that one come through. Other programs that we like are vet tech, HVAC, plumbing, logistics, heavy equipment, and recreational technology. So we've got several different options. I know one thing that Terry brought up at the last meeting was wanting to be fair and offer programs that are available for female students. I'm not sexist, but I totally understand where she's coming from. So when we shared this information with the superintendents, some of the superintendents shared that same concern. So we went back to our office and Sandy did a little bit of digging. Could you share that digging that you did?
When you look at PDE's list of programs of study, I believe it was 70% male-dominated to 30%. Our population right now, we have 60% male, 40% female, and you know that's pretty good.
So we're proud of that, you know. And don't get me wrong, that does change, that ebb and flows, but the fact that we are, for lack of a better phrase, better than the state average, I take that as a win. All right?
Is that population mix spread across, obviously, the current programs that we have now?
Yes. 60-40.
So is that a correlation or is that a causality? I don't know that answer. You know what I mean?
I don't.
You know what I'm trying to ask you? Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we did bring up the numbers of our male-dominated labs.
Programs, sure, yeah.
But we're over that average, and I don't have that number right in front of me. But you know, we were trying to take a look at, you know, are we skewed, off skewed, and I'll have to dig up that number. But when we took a look at how many females we had, we were pretty impressed overall. And you know, we have. Ironically, after Julie gave this presentation, we had an ice cream day for our students, and a student stopped me out there and she said, you know, I'm an auto tech, but boy, if you had a vet tech program, I'd dump auto tech.
Yeah.
And she said, that's what I really wanted to get into. I said, where were you like 2 hours ago?
It was literally 2 hours.
Well, but you have to realize, one only course I would say to really look at is the new course we have, and it's not really the field, that would be a neutral, gender neutral class. It's a sports medicine. Most of the other ones, the other three courses are mostly female dominated. Health assistant, cosmetology, early childhood. Right. But the one course, the only course that I see would be more neutral, gender neutral, would be the sports medicine, which, because I think that is, I think that would be, if we know what with enrollment in that, you could probably say, that's the kind of course that's more, you don't have the male-female ratio could be 50-50, 100% of the time.
Yeah. My husband works in rehabilitation, so he would fall under the category of our sports therapy and exercise science. In his last position, there were only 2 males and over a dozen females. So it is female dominated, and so is our program in-house.
OT and the PT side of it, yes.
Yeah.
If you go back to the slide before that with your list there, are there any, I mean, I think HVAC, plumbing, heavy equipment repair would probably be traditional male dominated?
Yes.
Yeah,
But what about the other ones? Is
Protective
there a-
services is traditionally male dominated as well.
But we have a
It's
female,
not
we have a female on our staff.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the first two.
I just didn't know if there was statistics out there, if there's other technical schools doing it, where does their population fall in some of those?
So
And that's not
protective
something that
services,
we've asked.
just from the couple that I've looked at, I'm just saying, the couple that I've looked at are literally like sports therapy, where they're swung one way, but it's more like a 1/3, 2/3, 60-40 type scenario. For, like, sports therapy is probably 60-40 girl to female to male, right? Protective services is usually right around that 1/3 to 2/3, 60-40 type ratio, male to female, so.
Yeah.
Matt, question, demonstrate that ignorance. If a student begins here in one program, might he elect to switch programs partway along and take up a different kind of endeavor?
They can if there is a seat available. So 14 of our 18 programs are full. So the switching is not so easy with those programs.
These new and different areas attract away from existing programs? Probably not likely.
They potentially could. When you look at like vet tech, that could pull a kid maybe from health sciences or sports
Or
therapy.
cosmetology.
I mean, it could.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, now this is not ranked in order. Let's jump to that slide. Let's jump forward a couple slides. So where the admin, where we would like to see it kind of go moving forward.
So our recommendation is to keep cosmetology as a single instructor program. We want to leave cosmetology the way that it is and proceed. We would love to add protective services next school year, so starting the fall of 2024. That means we would need to start recruiting this fall to accept applications. And then we would love to add an additional program the following year, unless we wanted to be really ambitious and do it next year. And then potentially a third program in 25-26. Naturally, looking at the spaces that we have available on our campus is the biggest component that we need to look at. But we do have 2 buildings, we have some possibilities based off of the directions that we want to head, and we'd like to be gung-ho. We'd like to keep adding programs because we've got the population out there, we've got students that want to be in our building. And Dr. Wise, to go off of the question that you just had, I'm gonna leave Lisa's son as an example. Lisa's son started this year with us in facilities maintenance, and she said, boy, if we start protective services, he's gonna want that.
Although now he's loving facilities, so it might have changed.
So you
But
never
if we
know.
had it, he would have gone protective
You never
services
know.
last year all day long.
Yeah.
He talked to the state police at advanced training day all day yesterday, so.
Yeah, but as we get a program started and we work on that titration, we want to take some seniors, a little more juniors, and a lot more sophomores so we can build the program up. So we might pull a couple kids from our current programs to start these, but then we're gonna get new populations that wouldn't even be in the building moving forward. Absolutely.
So protective services, so we're not asking for any approvals tonight. We're just presenting this so we got an idea of where we stand as a leadership team and what we'd like to move forward. We're gonna present to the superintendents October 6th, and we're gonna get approval. We're gonna ask for approval on protective services. But we're also gonna then have that determination of, are we moving forward with cosmetology 2 or not? Regardless, protective services can go into effect, whether it's in these 2 open spaces that were add-ons to build new programs, or whether it's over in the skill center, and that's part of that giving half to the EC3 and keeping half to us. We can make either one of those work. So we're gonna come to you in October. Once the superintendent's approved, then we're gonna have that for you guys to approve.
It's too bad that not many directors in tech schools have a spare building to use as they'd like to.
Absolutely, I agree completely. And I look at, the problem with cosmetology is, we get 16 kids. Basically, our programs take 16 kids a year. We get 11 school districts. That's 1.5, basically, per school district. And that's a problem in my mind with welding, with electrical. Like, there's more than one kid that wants to become a welder in your whole district, or your whole sophomore class, I should say. You know what I mean? To me, that's the reality of 11 sending school districts in 16 of 3 years of a 48 student program.
Can I ask an unrelated question, and I apologize? Precision machining, which was a hallmark of this place forever, and I see what's this $15,000 for machinist stops to sign on. Are kids staying away from that because it's so heavily based on mathematics, reasonably advanced mathematics?
I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it. And I think that's one of the things, we're having marketing discussions. And I don't think we need to market programs like welding, right? They got a wait list, they're full. Cosmetology, wait list, they're full. Welding and cosmetology, I think, are the two biggest wait lists. If you typically, maybe 1 year, they're not the top two, but they're typically the two biggest. But I think that's where we're talking about the marketing of precision machining.
We gotta change the name.
Down in Venango County, it was the same thing. They always struggled getting kids into that one. It just didn't have the flash of the fire, let's put it that way.
And people are paying 15 grand to sign on.
There's a ton of opportunity and jobs there, no doubt about it. So one of the things I'm looking at is rebranding that into automation and manufacturing, something of that nature, because that's really what it is.
It's really.
But automation just catches kids, robotics just catches kids a whole different level than precision machining does, right? And then try to work with that instructor to do more with automation and robotics that, we're already doing some. We already have robotic arms that do things with the precision machining that the kids are coding, but let's get a little more of that. And still do the precision machining, but hit that automation and robotic side of things. When kids hear that these days, I think it's a little more catchy than precision machining tool and die. I'm personal to that. I know they're going to be doing that.
No, that's a fair question.
But
And like Matt said, it's all in the marketing, because when we talk about precision machining, for years we've preached, you've got to be good at math, you've got to be good at math, you've got to be good at math. Yes and no. I sat down and had lunch with a gentleman from Elwood Forge, and he's like, it's really not true anymore because of technology. You need to have your problem-solving skills and understand some math, but you can grab your calculator, your phone if you're allowed to have it, and do those math problems. They don't have to be up in your head. So we have that misnomer out there.
Programmer.
Right, yeah.
Really.
And so we have to change that mentality a little bit because technology has really changed the way that the field operates.
Yeah, my suggestion is, you had mechanical engineer up there. That the lab for machine shop is technically mechanical engineering. It's because I go to the electrical engineering course. That's technically not electrical engineering. We call it electrical engineering. It's technically industrial electric wiring. Okay, so if you rename that machine shop to mechanical engineering, it's basically the same. I'm saying a title, which I've preached this before you even hear us, Matt. I said the names of these courses are not 100% correct. They're misleading. Okay, although they're helpful, if you want to, in my opinion, just change that to
mechanical engineering technology.
Right, and everything they do in that course, if you were a mechanical engineer going to Barron, you would do. Okay, if you go up to any college and see the machine shop, and that's almost the same thing. If you go up to Barron, they have one just like that, and that's what they do. That's what that course is. And don't forget, these students are only here, basically, only one semester of college, technically, because they're only here for they're only working.
Yeah, 9 credits basically of college is what they end up.
Yeah, right. And
all our articulation agreements are right around 9.
Yeah, but it's really.
So it's
all on the understanding, and then you go, if you want a good example, you go down to Mill Creek, which you go down Metro Representatives. That's basically what all that the electrical, their programming system they have down there. It's mostly introduction and pre-mechanical engineering, okay? And it's just all in the name, which if you've been on the board as long as I have, you've heard me speak.
I've heard you say that. So that is one of the things we're working through.
So
Now,
that's technically we already have mechanical engineering. It's just not the mechanical engineering that some people might think it is, but you have to look at the picture, what they're doing in that class, and look what they're doing in college, okay? And look at electrical engineering, and look at what if you were electrical engineering in college. Okay?
Well, I think the last piece, and Jessica, you can maybe help us, is my recollection when this was brought up 6 months ago, last spring, about the second cosmetology program, was we thought we had quite a bit of a contingency left over,
Yes.
right? And I'm sure 6 months have gone by, and that's shrunk quite a bit.
And we thought it was only gonna be 400,000.
Correct.
Yes, it was gonna be like
Correct.
400,000.
So
It
those
was,
things,
the numbers from the
right,
contractors
the bids were.
were 465,000.
You had all his contingency money in there, it was like $80,000 and some crazy numbers that cost to put together, if I recall, to make that 630-some-thousand. My point is, I don't know if we can afford it anymore, even if it's a realistic option to try to go to the cosmetology. I'm throwing that out there, you would know the numbers better than I would on what's left.
Yes, so I do
And
have
maybe
that.
I'm jumping around, but.
No, we gave those numbers last meeting and we had that
Yeah.
discussion, so, and again, there's $100,000 worth of equipment to make Cosmo go.
Yeah,
And that's not
it's not
the
budgeted.
contractor numbers of 460, right? So,
Right now, we have 758,000 left. And that's including that 102 if you do approve
Okay.
it. If you don't approve it, then we'll have 800.
And his service tech, his VNet guy?
Well, that is coming out of, his money has been coming out of the furniture and equipment.
Right. And that
So-
number's smaller too, I'm sure.
That one is, we are at 639,
Left.
yes.
Okay.
So if we use his 100, it's gonna be 500.
So if the cosmetology, if that was the consensus, if that was what the vote is on, that's gone.
Mhm.
That 600 and some thousand is gone,
Yes.
which I know we always like to have a little left in our pocket when we finish the job.
and when you don't spend that goes into capital.
It goes into
projects,
capital
so it's
project,
not
right,
like
that was the
it's-
seed
it's-
money that we wanted to start that revolving capital fund.
Yeah, correct.
I think this is helpful, though. I think my fear, what I shared last month was, if we just say, oh, we don't think that's a good idea, the second Cosmo, but don't plow forward on another avenue, I can see the superintendent saying, no, we know this, let's do it. I think this gives, and I've talked to my superintendent after you guys shared, and I think this helps. Here's some options. And it does increase our population here, twice as much as just that on the left. And there's gonna be expenses with this. But
There is definitely-
not as
there is.
high, not the renovation stuff. You're gonna still have equipment.
But that's by the new student population is gonna cover it.
But based on Julie's numbers, are you actually training a large number of people for non-jobs?
So that's the problem with vet assistants. So protective services, man, there's jobs. I met with the county public safety director and 911 director and EMA director and, I'm missing one of them.
Airport security, I mean,
Yeah.
that course.
They met with us and they're all like, state police, they're getting ready to give us letter of support, you know what I mean, for the protective services. And we believe that one will fill and go fast. Probably the next one, if you want to be aggressive, would be vet assistant. Now, vet assistant, there isn't the jobs, right? On that slide with jobs, there wasn't as many job openings. But to me, vet assistant is not directly going into vet, because you have agriculture, you have farm animals, you have that kind of stuff. To me, it's an agricultural program, and we don't have an agricultural program. Agriculture is the #1 industry in Pennsylvania, right? So it's like, to me, that would be, we, lifting as admin, could open 2 programs next fall. We were going with the let's get over Cosmo with 1 new program, just so everybody was ready. But we can bring 2 programs to you to open next fall and roll with it.
I do know that a lot of farmers are their own veterinarian.
Exactly.
Because it's so expensive.
And dog groomers and kennels and all that kind of stuff don't count as vet programming, but those, a lot of good careers and opportunities there.
career paths for
It's
me.
insane.
Yeah.
I would support this.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yep.
So, you know, I pulled back the reins. Like, I know Julie's ready on that assistant. She's ready.
Just let me go.
I pulled back the reins because the protective services discussion was done and already approved. And to me, that was the easy lift of taking away Cosmo, adding protective services, and then having time to vet out which program's next. If you guys are ready, vet assistant works perfectly in those two places. Protective services, vet assistant, we fence in, we got that outside field that'll be out there beside it. You know what I mean? We fence in that area for the animals, and then we're kind of ready to go on vet assistant next year. We can do that.
Can we fill those positions?
Put it in the paper, start advertising.
Yeah, that's what I.
Cats.
Creating a new era.
We should vote now, let's vote now.
We're not a meeting yet.
And that's where then you go to what other ones are coming future down the road, and what fits well with the skill center. And heavy equipment, HVAC, plumbing, with the spaces we have in the skills center. Because, you know,
We need those guys.
and logistics.
I'd hire mechanics to death.
Yeah.
You would hire a diesel mechanic.
Absolutely.
I mean, we, literally, there's about 5, I mean, HVAC would go like that. Diesel mechanics would go like that. Logistics, you saw the number of jobs in logistics. We have a warehouse over there. Like, how do we incorporate that one in? And I don't even know what that looks like, but there are a couple CTs that have that program already.
That's interesting. That was huge numbers.
Huge numbers.
So when I interviewed for this position, I was trying to think, what questions are they gonna ask me? And the question I was like, they're definitely gonna ask me, if you're gonna add a program, what's it gonna be? Of course, they never asked me that question, but my answer was logistics. I just don't think that you can beat it in today's society. And I mean, think about how much COVID changed, and we already had successful CTE programs in logistics far before that. So with all of the changes that are coming and Amazon wanting to build Logistics Plus booming, I just don't think that we can go wrong. The only hiccup is, and I don't even want to call it a hiccup, it's a speed bump, if you will. We need to get kids excited about it and understand what it is. Because if they hear it's a logistics program, that doesn't sound fun. But when we educate them and we market it the right way, how could you go wrong?
Back to semantics.
Yes,
That's exactly what you were saying.
exactly. It's huge.
So I know this has been a long presentation and a heavy lift and a lot to think about. But we're going to come with the superintendent's approval. We know we're coming with protective services, and to not do Cosmo 2 is the direction we as an admin team would like to see it go. We're gonna go with the superintendent's October 6th for the approvals and discussion to finalize those things. If, you know, and I can roll it out there of adding 2 programs next fall. To me, adding 2 programs next fall, because the vet assistant will be most likely more female dominated, helps with that Cosmo 2 discussion of, hey, you know, that was a female centric program.
I have to interject. Julie's presentation is fabulous. If she was a little bit more enthusiastic.
I'm sorry, it's been a long day. I will work on that, I promise.
Next time, chug a Mountain Dew before you present.
She did, she got Dr. Pepper.
We'd like you to run it by the superintendents. We don't
Yeah.
really care if they approve it or not. Bring it back to us next month. It's always
Yeah,
nice.
that's the plan.
If they stamp it, that's great, but.
I think it's a very good presentation. Logistics is, why you said that logistics, this is my comment on, go ahead.
Your whole gang here. I like it.
We are a team.
The logistics, that's kind of
I don't see
course
stuff this.
that we could set up that go with colleges, we could have college courses in logistics. They should be taking college course in logistics. We could tell them, okay, you're gonna come out and you're gonna take, if we have people come in here at the skills center and take 2 college courses, and it's pre-logistics, you know, statistics and stuff like that. Okay, and that one course, it's kind of a logistics. It's one of those things that I think we would be pushing the envelope on that one, because it's really, really pretty high.
Supply chain management, man, there's so many jobs.
Yeah, but they're gonna want somebody to have college courses. They might as well go to have, if we have the college classes doing that, And it'd be basically logistics, but they would take college courses, like you said.
EC3 needs to offer that.
Right.
In our building, give them enough space to do that.
Yeah, and then they could take two, they could
Okay,
go Monday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they have to take recruiting courses.
Absolutely.
And they have, by the time they get done for 4 years, 3 years here, they'd have already their college degree.
So one of the conversations too with EC3, because there's money flowing to them from the state, there's money flowing to community colleges right now from the state, is they asked, what about adding space through like Warren Building and Morton Buildings on your property? What is your feeling there? To me, absolutely, that's a great way to add space. I also, in my mind, think a Warren Building or a Morton Building, you guys are familiar with what Warren Building, Morton Building, it's just a steel, basically, garage. Pole barn, this steel, yeah, steel structure garage, basically, or building, whatever what you wanna call it.
Pre-engineered metal.
Exactly. I would like to do that with several of our current labs to give them more space. When you see how tight welding is after they expanded the classroom and they added all those booths, to me, that's a no-brainer. To add that space with just, you know, the product, the metal, the storage, a little bit of equipment that's portable, to have that outside of that would make that program that much better. Kind of like carpentry already has, right? Carpentry already has that building. It does not need to be that high and that big, but that space is very valuable for the kids with all the equipment that they have with shears and, I don't even know, planers and all that other stuff that they have. So that is the discussion with EC3 after. And my feeling is, absolutely, you're putting an investment into our property that we can use down the road, like even if we end the lease, you know what I mean, but they have to have that long-term commitment to do that.
Sure.
So just so you guys are aware, I'm in favor of that.
easy as throwing up a pole barn anymore.
No, it's a couple $100,000.
If I was building it at my house.
You think it'll be more?
School, it's a whole different ballgame.
Because prevailing wage and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you're gonna take a $200,000 pole barn, make $1 million.
Unless you guys can do co-stars, I don't know if you can do it on co-star.
On Morton, you might be able to.
So on the other side of things is we have
Although-
facility maintenance, construction trades,
It's
and
gotta be a renovation. It can't be a brand new co-star. It has to be to an existing facility.
I
But
found
if
11
you-
matches. Could you be more specific?
Can I be more specific? But if it's connected, we might find a way. We'd have to ask our solicitor on how fine of a line we can walk.
I think we beat this one pretty good tonight.
Yeah.
Our superintendents, bring
we'll
back
have
the
some
blueprint, and, yeah, let's keep.
And we'll bring it to move forward on program approval next month. We'll bring both of them, and then you guys can decide whether we're biting off one or waiting on the other one.
It's kind of disconcerting when the administration shows up with real information, you know, like hard numbers. At McLean, we talk about curriculum as though it's mystical, you know, it's growing on religion. We don't see it. So
We will actually have the task grids for you, so you can see what the state approved task grids are for those programs at the next meeting as well. So you actually have curriculum numbers and ideas and thoughts and so forth. I know with protective services, we got a lot of people ready to go. I mean, I actually was at the UPMC Northwest, basically Northern Pod Professional Development Retreat this afternoon. And one of the people said to me, what do you guys do anything with protective services? Because we can't even, security guards and that kind of stuff or something, we would hire right now. We could take some of the high school kids on co-op. And I'm like, I'm gonna shoot you an email for a letter of support. So, as you guys will know, every industry is hurting for people. So now is a time where, you know, when we talk adding programs, everybody's excited about it, so.
Everything's everybody's hurting, that's true. But what's different here, Tim, is if you look at our history, it wasn't but 2 or 3 years ago that we were talking about declining enrollment and labs in trouble. So this is exciting. We can get some labs that we can build some of that up. It's a different, it's a different field, so that's great.
We need people to talk about this.
Yep.
We need to be talking about it.
And with the renovation project as well, like that's the first thing I did. bring your brass, bring the leadership of UPMC Hammond, come on down, take a look at our programs, look how we can be a complement to what you're talking about, these pipelines to positions. I mean, the UPMC network is huge, right? We're not just talking Hammond, we're talking Kane, we're talking, Northwest down in our area, Chautauqua. I mean, it's just, they're growing and growing and growing, so. And it's not, I just talk UPMC because I'm connected there. You have St. Vincent as well, but there are tons of positions. Allegheny Health Network, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
We're done with that, let's go to Foundation,
All right.
right? That's you?
It's me, yeah. I'll come for a couple months
Can
to
we
get
turn
to
that
work, so.
Yeah.
That's why I stand up.
It's dark out now.
There's more sugar over there. That won't help.
My sat all day today and I tried to get out. You kept calling me.
All right, I'd like to call this foundation meeting order at 7:49. All right, roll call vote, or excuse me, roll call, please.
Mr. McManus.
Here.
Mr. Fortin. Dr. Wise.
Here.
Mr. Osnani.
Here.
Ms. Brink. Mr. King. Mr. Lindner. Mr. Lloyd.
Here.
Mr. Rain.
Here.
Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Morgan.
Here.
All right, roll call is complete. 2 amendments. We do have 1 amendment. It is a motion to move the treasurer's report, statement of financial position report, and statement of activities report to the financial section 6A of the agenda. So we'll move it down further. Can I get a motion to approve that?
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 3, meeting minutes. I'm sure all of you had a chance to read those. Meeting minutes from the June 22nd meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
Morvay, so moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, new business. We have 2 things on that. There's a 4AA and a 4AB. Do you want to do them together?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll move them both.
All right.
Second.
Second. All right. I'll just read them real quick. Motion to approve to donate $150 to the Fairview High School football team for helping with moving and setting up to start the 23-24 school year, and the same as well with the Seneca High School football team is 4AB. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries.
I have 1 comment, so if that's coming out of just what account is that coming out of?
Contingency.
No, that's coming out of.
Well, that's coming out of
Foundation.
Foundation, they're asking the foundation.
Oh, you're for the football team, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
for a
That's-
donation.
Foundation.
It's coming out of the checking account and we have plenty of money in there.
Yes, Northwest.
What do we, it should be in the business report.
Now we're going on to the financial status.
Yes, how much we have there.
All right, 6 financials. Jessica, you want to take that? You want to do a
Yep.
brief summary?
The treasurer's report, the total cash in hand, we have $16,730.08. That's with Peace Lab and Northwest together. And our total money in our foundation, it's $313,020.38.
So what's our balance on our checking account? Do we have plenty of money in there?
You got money.
Yes.
Okay, that's why, you didn't want to show, okay, good. I didn't want to shut us short because we have to do Christmas money out of this thing too.
Yeah, it's $500, man.
Yeah, but if we have nothing in the checking account. We have-
Bad Christmas.
Number 7, adjournment. Can I get a motion?
Do we need to approve the
With the
financial?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll
All
move.
right.
Moved.
All right, ring motion, second?
Second.
I want to make a comment before we go too far, because I don't know if we have an ad. Do we need because we aren't gonna meet until, after Christmas, and don't we need the money for donation for that prior to that meeting?
For the Christmas, we.
We don't meet in October,
December.
our next
You mean
meeting's the
December.
We're 19th. Yeah, so do we need to have that money approved before then? Or do we have to have another meeting in November?
He's talking about the gift cards.
Right, so do we need to have another meeting Over the 19th, be early enough for approval of that.
Don't we meet on Tuesday?
The Tuesday the
But I
19th.
think we do it in December, right? We usually
Right,
do that
and
in
we have to have the
December.
cards approved.
I think we'll be good at that point.
Okay, I just don't wanna cut it short, you know,
Right.
for the financial, because we are, okay.
We would intend to do what we've done in the past.
Yes,
We can
yes,
plan.
right, yes, but we have to approve that on the 19th. Okay, I just wanna make sure that, because we don't meet till then.
Almost Christmas.
Oh, yeah, and we, okay, I plan on approving it, but.
All right, Wise was the second. All in favor to approve the financials? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
Go so moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Right,
Motion adjourned.
but no,
Okay, we're gonna go into executive?
If anybody has any questions about the hires and resignations, if there's no questions, we don't really need to go into executive.
Do we wanna go into executive for, does anybody have any?
It's just for personnel, correct?
It's just personnel. If there's any questions about hires and resignations? No need to go into executive.
All right, then let's call this meeting to order. Have a moment of reflection, please. All right, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. There we go.
Electronic.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good thinking, Mike.
we asked them to do that like at the beginning of the meeting, because we didn't know if we were gonna have that before or after.
Roll call.
I thought we'd have that first.
Mr. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Thornton? Dr. Wise?
Here.
Ms. Rosanna?
Present.
Ms. Brink? Mr. King? Mr. Lindner? Mr. Boyd?
Here.
Mr. Ring?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert? Mr. Morvay?
Here.
Very good, we got an executive session we do not need to take, so we will scrap that. Are there any amendments that we need to add?
No.
All righty, meeting minutes. So I'd like to move the minutes.
Motion. Second, Morgan.
Moved and seconded, any discussion, corrections on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. We have the student accomplishment highlights with the exemplary students earlier. Guest and public comment. Anybody like to address the board? Important items coming to ECTS. Anything additional to all the excitement that we've already had?
All the excitement we had, we have OAC meetings as part of my report, so OAC meetings are October 9th. If anybody wants to come, there's the invite in there, and feel free to come to them. That's a luncheon with our OAC meetings on October 9th. That's it.
That's in service day.
That's our in-service day for teachers, and yeah.
Very good. That takes us to operations. We have field trips. We have the EC3 lease that we talked about, the PA Cyber School tuition agreement, clerk of the works, the revised calendar, donation here of a Chrysler LeBaron. But G, we are going to remove from the table here at this point, so we can just X out of that. If somebody doesn't want to table it, then make that motion later. And then we have the Titan agreement H. So that takes us to the 8 to cover all of those items. If somebody would like to move those.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion, questions on any of those items? And again, that's all minus the
Yes.
change order. Very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. New financial items. Business managers report.
Okay, so for the record, I'm gonna read out your balances as of August 31st, 2023. In our general fund, we have $3,163,000, $557.83. Capital projects, we have $4,854,000, $665.97. Student Activities Fund has $1,619.52. And a flexible spending account, we have $847.18. And we have received 14% of our revenue and expense only 9% so far.
While we're there on that top of that screen there, you said last month you were gonna bill all the districts?
Yes,
Is that the rest of the pot, or is there still some more money coming in?
no, this is it. This is what we have, it includes what we have billed the districts.
Which
Right,
was the
we're
final,
done billing.
which was the final bill.
Yes.
So all the money's in here, so that's what we have left.
Under the revenue, not on the top one. The top one is our actual balance.
Correct.
That's how much we have.
4.8 million.
Yes, so we'll have the additional 2 point something coming soon. I know the only one has paid, obviously Iroquois paid since the beginning. Wattsburg sent their check, we received it in September, and Mill Creek called saying they were gonna give us our check soon.
Okay, so there is still some more
So
money.
there's still more money coming for capital projects.
Anything under treasurer's report?
No, it's just our balances.
Checks, wiring, a statement of activity, open invoices, and Visa. I see Mr. Laverty finally got a card, so that was good. I'd be open to somebody moving G.
Morvay, so moved.
Second one.
Moving second, any discussion?
I just wanna know, are there any opportunities to get additional funding from the state? Do we know of any or not really, like our whole school district? Will we get any additional?
Grants?
Yeah, well, like the funding, underneath the funding, the way the funding balance. Formulas, is there any, will we get any additional funding for that? Are you aware of that?
No, if they added anything to the formula, I can look into that and see what the formula.
Well, we have proceeded, but I wonder, I don't wanna miss any opportunities. Thank you, that's all.
Was there, Delbert, maybe you might have mentioned this before, but was there any energy savings or any other credits that we were getting in the renovation part with the new build, whether it's lighting, power? I just don't recall if that was part of the mix.
It was not part of the mix for the renovation.
Okay.
We didn't use any ESCO
Okay.
as a portion of it at all.
All right, right. But obviously the products are that much more efficient than they used to be.
We're gonna realize the savings in the energy.
In operations.
In operations, because we went to LED, so.
Your question about grants brought that to my mind, that many times you can get credits depending on the products that you use, or equipment or lighting, et cetera. There's grants and Penelec sometimes that has a program, and there's other things, but, because, I know Uncle Neil done it a few times, but,
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Administrative Services and Human Resources.
Other than what's in it.
Okay, so then we've got some action here. I'm not gonna read all those, A, B, C, D, E. And then we've got hiring and subs, 10D A, 10D B, 10D C. Stipends. So if I have an approval for F, a motion?
So moved.
Second one.
Moved and seconded. Any questions for Kat on any of that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Superintendent's report. Mr. Emmer couldn't be with us tonight because of volleyball.
Went to his
His
daughter's
daughter's
birthday.
doing that. So he did call me and,
He called me and reviewed it, and I said we'd be good.
yep, we get through without it. So director's report.
All right, I got an attached report that's in your,
Yeah, look at it, yeah, pretty nice.
in there, but basically our occupational advisory committee meetings are October 9th. There's some operational tasks that are every year that we kept on there for the comprehensive plan and evaluation. We talked about the skill center plans, so we worked through that a little bit. And then the new program presentation, so give you a little timeline of where we're looking to do there. And then I always like to spotlight some students. I ask different instructors who's doing well and just to put names with faces and highlight some of your students in your district that our teachers are recognizing every time this month. So that's, and then the renovation report, being that we didn't have a clerk of the works, is the last thing on my list there. We're entering phase 3. Phase 2, we're working through getting things put back together, and we got some change orders, right? As we discussed.
That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have this. Do you know what the date is for the new student open house?
Thursday, November 16th?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's what, okay, because I, at my board meeting, I said that people were wondering about coming out here, and I said the opportunity to come out that date for the 16th.
Yes.
From what time?
4:30 to 6:30 p.m.
4:30, 6:30, and they could, that's a general, kind of a general public open house. I don't know if you've ever been out here, but I come out and recognize a new student, try to find them. It's pretty tricky. But if anybody on my board, I said this is a good time for them to come out here because parents are coming and going. We have a lot of repeat students. I don't know if you ever came out, a lot of repeat students come back here and thank the staff and the teaching, so. Thank you for that.
Solicitor's report.
No report.
Wow. Principal's report.
In addition to the report that I submitted, the Early Childhood Education Program started up their preschool for the year about 2 weeks ago. Cosmetology plans to start their clinic starting the beginning of October. So those are 2 opportunities where we bring in quote-unquote clients into the building, which is very exciting. Today was our first blood drive. We've got 2 more scheduled throughout the school year. And tomorrow is our kickoff for our annual Walk for Wishes campaign. So lots of things going on around here.
All righty. We don't need to approve those or file them or anything. So we've got supplemental reports. Anything more on technology report? Mike, giving you the opportunity. Okay, good. Instructional services report. Attendance report from JOC members.
I'm here.
Thank you for being here.
Exemplary board. Anyways, never mind. Is there anything else that we need to address there? Anything?
G, go back.
What are you saying?
We're going back to G and table that officially.
We didn't take it, so we don't need to officially do it. They'll put it on next month if we've got something. We just bypassed it. Nobody moved it.
Okay.
Right? That's good enough.
Okay.
Very good. Anything else for the good of the order?
I have an announcement. We have a new member of our 7th grade girls basketball team, Matt's daughter, Kayla Becker, and we're glad to welcome the very family to our district.
Thank you for moving up here.
Sure.
I'm hoping it's a nicer drive, because my daughter doesn't like driving to Oil City and back all winter.
Not the easiest drive to Oil City.
Luckily, since COVID went from every day to 3 days, and now who knows what's gonna be this year.
Adjournment. Anybody like to make that motion?
Oh, yes.
Motion.
Second, third, and
Moved
fourth.
and seconded. All in favor, please leave. Thank you all.